right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 2. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
How we feeling this afternoon?
I don't know if you guys have ever had this nightmare, but I had a nightmare this morning that I was playing in the game tonight.
Oh, no.
And Sid texted me and said, "O-Dog, you're late for the game." And then I get to the rink, and I started taking my gear off, and all the guys were looking at my frame, and they were like, "Come on, man." It was the worst. It was not a dream. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, that is
First I was late, and then I got there, and I took my shirt off to put my underwear on for the dressing room, and the guys were like, "Come on, man." And I legit in bed started sweating. I'm like, thank God. You know the ones you wake up and you're like, thank God I woke up? That's one of them.
That's a nightmare. Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Well, could you imagine if they were like, we're short one player, we need O-Dog. Like, get in here, O-Dog. And you go in and start gearing down. I was going to say, I mean, like, think about it, though. Drew Doughty was... What, did he sleep through on the final game? Like, that's a Drew Doughty moment. Like, I'm fine. I just go in and play 30 minutes that night. But what if you quarterback the power play? It's like our power play. We need you. O-Dog, bumper position one time, or just go stand there. You could do it.
I think you could do that.
Dude, the only thing I could do is if there was a 5-on-3 and they said, go stand at the far blue, and then on entry, stand on top of the dot, and you can hammer away at some one-timers.
I think you're net front now, man. I think you're.
Dude, you don't think I could take one-timers on the top of the dot?
Not anymore.
You got to get there, though. That's the problem. The speed of the game. Can you imagine? They would have 5 passes.
I don't want to get too far deep into this on such a big night. If you just let me get to the top of the dot, I'm the stretch guy on the breakout.
No, I know what you're
Sid
expressing.
feeding me and McKinnon feeding me and McJesus feeding me?
No.
Get me there.
You're net front, block Hellebuck, and turn around and try to whack something in if it's there.
I'm barely 5'11". You want me net front?
Yes.
Hellebuck is 6'6". I'm not net front.
The thing is those guys you're at the far blue line. They will find a way to get in the zone before you.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna have to Hannibal Lecter you wheel you down to the front net or to that bumper position.
Guys, you're talking 2 years ago. Yeah. The new me, I'm like goal line, top of dot.
I hear you. There's an SNL skit. Now, this is the new you.
And let me guess the guy that's in it. Farley.
Yes, Farley and Nancy Kerrigan. There's a famous skit where they're doing a figure skating duo.
And Farley's got skates on?
Yes, and his name's Wolfgang or whatever, and David Spade and I think Kevin Nealon are doing the play-by-play, and they're like, Wolfgang, he's put on some weight, he's having a tough time keeping up. And that would be you. Farley chasing Kerrigan around would be you trying to get to the top of the dot.
I thought you were going to talk.
You got to get some viz of Wolfgang skating.
Get Wolfgang skating with Nancy Kerrigan.
I thought you were going to talk Farley and Patrick Swayze and the Chippendale.
That was you in the room before the game in the nightmare. There's Sid is Swayze, and you're Farley right beside him, gearing up for the big game tonight.
Yeah,
but
man, that game tonight, what a momentum swing. We literally had the conversation. Are they going to try? There's people dubbing this the biggest game in hockey history, man.
Which is absurd. Okay?
It is absurd.
I have completely pulled a 180, but the amount of idiocy that is being poured out here, that this is bigger than 2010 or bigger than 02 or this is bigger than the Summit Series. It's all coming from the States. Let's clarify that.
There was one
all
coming
Americans
from the States, and I don't want to repeat it because if it's not true, I don't want to embarrass a guy saying it's bigger than a Stanley Cup win. Give me
come on, guys. It's the Four Nations face-off. It's come out of nowhere. It's still manufactured. It's a massive build-up, massive game. It's going to be awesome. And whoever wins it, there's going to be elation in the building. And it is going to be on your resume. And we had that conversation. These guys going to the Hall of Fame, will this be referenced? Yeah, I think it will be now. Like, I actually do think it really is something of substance. But let's not get stupid. Even if Canada wins, doesn't mean now this it's closer to the World Cup in 2016 than it was the Olympics, right? Like, that's what it is. But that's not to rain on the parade because the hype is there in terms of the buildup for this. right? It's not going to match the numbers that 2010. There were like 25 million Canadians that watched the gold medal game in 2010. There's not going to be 25 million people tonight watching the game. But I wouldn't be surprised if it got to 8 or 10 million. Well, I wouldn't be surprised at all. That's a massive, massive amount of people.
So, are you guys? Where were you? I think we talked about this yesterday. Is it watch party time, or like for me? I think it's couch and enjoy it type of thing. But there are people like flat out like planning watch parties.
Yeah, which is great, and that is a testament to it. And what also makes it different is it's a Thursday night. Right. Like generally the Olympics, the gold medal's on a Sunday. Sometimes it's at like noon or, it's in the afternoon, generally speaking. And this is a Thursday night, prime time, 8 p.m., Boston. Like that's another big part of it. We talked about the NHL rules and how much that is factored into the ability for fighting and big hits.
The two markets.
The two markets and the time zone is very significant as well. I mean, it's Eastern time zone, 8 p.m. You can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah.
So it sets up for a great game. It's going to be an outstanding game. It'll be an emotional game. I can't wait for it. There are a lot of people who I wouldn't expect to reach out and say, what do you think? I was at a meeting this morning and this woman was like, a big game tonight. Who do you think's going to win? I never would have had this conversation with her.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you got a business on the side or something?
I was at a meeting. It was.
Yeah,
I was
all
doing.
Of a sudden you're like me. I got meetings left and right. All of a sudden you're at a meeting this morning.
I had a meeting. I had a very important meeting this morning.
You're Kramerica. You walk in with a.
I was essentially
like you're talking boardroom. You walked in with a briefcase.
It was technically in a boardroom.
How did it go over with your spray tan? I mean, that's the thing too.
Here's another thing that has to be addressed. All right, I have an eye issue. O's in here.
Dude, I put eyes on this guy. It was like the guy, I forget the movie where his eyes just all bugged out. There's something about Mary or something. His eye was all creeped out.
Well, yeah, that was the guy, Woody or whatever his name was. There was also Le Chiffre, which was the Bond villain, where I think he took a bullet to the side of. There he is. That's basically
That's
me.
His eye.
That's got like white eye,
Well, my first instinct was when I saw your eye, I'm like, don't touch. That's pink eye.
No, it's not. I know. I blew a blood vessel.
But you said you blew a blood vessel, and I'm good with that.
I have had sinus issues for the last 3 days. My flight home, I didn't get into it yesterday, was probably the most miserable experience of my life. My head was in a vice.
Well, the pressure, I couldn't imagine. It's probably the pressure that caused your sinuses to explode.
Dying, man. I showed up at Pearson, and because I was in the Dominican, I didn't bring a jacket or anything down. So I'm freezing on the plane because I'm dying. So I got all these different layers on. I get out at Pearson. My eye has exploded. I look like I've been in a trench for 6 months, and I'm walking to pick up my bags, and some guy goes, "Hey, ZB." What's up, man? He kind of stopped. He's like, is that even him? That guy looks like a troll. He saw the one side of my face, and I turned, and he's like, oh, hey, man.
He didn't know
there's
you.
only one way out of that on the airport. You roll up 300, and you pass it to the lady on the plane, or man, and you say, I need some booze, ASAP, and don't stop bringing it until this thing lands.
I'm not sure that would have got me out of Dodge. I really don't, but I tried to get out of it yesterday because we were at home and we do the 3 boxes. And then I was on with Jay last night and they go to a single shot in my face.
Just tomato head. I saw it this morning. I laid eyes on you and I was like, but that hit with Jay last night was so funny. They were talking about the handshake.
The handshake, dude. A habitual handshaker. What are you doing with the handshake on Jay?
Yeah, he brought that up last night.
Yes, he asked me about it, and I said, I know that move. I got to handshake this guy all the time. You are a habitual handshaker.
The best part is when you said after a good comment, you get a handshake.
After you have a good comment. Yes. What do you think of that? I'm like, I'm not shaking your hand for saying that Canada's going to win tonight.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
Funny.
I'm mad at Jay for that's supposed to go into the archives and never come out again.
No, you can't. You're not going to escape those guys, man. Kyle and everyone over there, they're on top of things.
They're so sharp. It's
they're
funny.
on top of things.
Yeah, I have to give a quick shout out to, you're familiar with the Peel Police. I've been dealing with something the last 24 hours. They've been unbelievable. Ashton and Papa. Want to give you guys a shout out. And Jeffrey as well. I've been dealing with him today. But
awesome.
That's why I'm at home today, or else I'd be in there with you guys. So.
Yeah, well, I might throw the sunglasses on later because I might have to go McCowan on this. I don't think I ever have. But just go old school. Old school. I think people in Toronto would appreciate that. The Chippendale picks are coming in.
I know. I was seeing that.
With Owen Sid. Is this? I'm going to retweet. I'll retweet one.
And my head's on Farley and Sid's on.
Well, Mark had sent one in on the ice where Farley is just throwing.
Yeah, Nancy Kerrigan. There it is. There's Wolfgang. Anna and Wolfgang in Lillehammer at 94.
But at one point, he launches her in the air like
looking at her.
That's you at the top of the circles.
Yes, watching Sid and Nate dangle in the corner.
That is you saying, "Feed me, Sid. I am starving right now for pucks and anything else you have."
Get it?
Yeah, that's talk tonight at the Garden in Boston. That is awesome. But yeah, no, listen, it's going to be great. We got Duthie coming in later this hour, and listen, there's a lot on the line, and we've talked extensively about who has more at stake, and I believe it is the Americans because of the way that they're talking. Like
I know, man.
Yeah, you think it's Canada?
I think it's Canada because we all know what's happened with Hockey Canada in the last several years. We all know what's happened at the World Juniors the last 2 years, being bounced in the quarterfinals. And a lot of talk has been about the American program catching up and surpassing the Canadian program. Mm-hmm. And with the Americans winning the last 2 World Juniors and then possibly defeating Canada, I think everybody you ask would say their program is ahead, regardless of the fact that Canada has Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon. It's about the team wins. And if it happens tonight, everyone's going to say, now we're the King Daddy Topper, and you guys are looking up at us.
It certainly is bragging rights for this situation, but the Olympics are right around the corner. But I don't think there's no argument. USA and Canada are pretty on par.
Yes.
Like when you look at it, I mean, take a look at the first rounders. Take a look at Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, the Tkachuk brothers. Like, these are stars in the league. Just like McDavid, Crosby, you go down McKinnon. Yes, generational, you could have the argument, but I mean, they are on par. And we shouldn't look past that. But Canada has the pride. This is going to be a hell of a game. I think Canada wins tonight. Maybe that's just my national pride involved, but I do believe you were saying Bobby Mack, generally says that you don't beat the same team twice in the same tournament. Mm-hmm. That could be true, but I can't wait to watch it
That's
tonight.
what you're hoping for. I mean, listen, my point about the Americans is you can say all that, and the World Juniors is one thing, and I know they've had a good program. We've run off years where we've won 5 in a row. I wouldn't be surprised if Canada won next year, the year after that, the year after that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the best on best of the pros, they are not on Canada's level. And if you lose again, then to me, it's just like move aside. Like you're not with us. Like you can say on paper this and that, and we won in the group stage, but they never win this game. Like they didn't in 2010, they didn't in 2002. They weren't even around really in 98,
They brought
06.
a team to Sochi that was loaded, and they literally crapped the bed.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So that is my argument, is that there's all of this momentum with the American hockey scene that we have caught up, or it's ours now. Well, if you're going to do that and say that, you better close it. You better win one of these, because if Canada wins again, it's just like we knew we were going to win. That's why I feel confident that they will. Like, I love that Sid's on my side, that we got McDavid, McKinnon. I think Cale Makar in tonight, McAvoy out, is huge, massively significant tonight.
Yeah.
Listen, there's pressure on both sides. For sure, everything you say about Canada is accurate, because if you're the top dog, people are coming for you constantly. Yep. And you got to sweep them away. And we've been doing that for 50 years. Right, whether it's the Russians or the Americans or whatever it is, and that's not going to stop. And it would be very disappointing if they lost tonight. But it's just in the States, they're trying to pretend as if this is truly a new era. Well, then they better prove it by actually winning. Because if you can't win this game, no one's going to remember that you won on Saturday. Nobody cares.
And we talked about it briefly yesterday, and I figured we'd get into it today. These are, I wouldn't say legacy moments, but are platform moments for a lot of players on both sides.
Big
97, 34 on the other side. You know, you said it yesterday, Hayes, and we kind of glossed over it. I mean, Austin Matthews, this is an opportunity for him to go on a big stage. I want to be the big dog. I'm the captain of this team. I'm the goal scorer. I'm the guy. Won a Hart, have won the Rockets. Like, why shouldn't it be a platform game for Austin Matthews? You know, Mitch Marner's got to get we'll call it a monkey off his back as far as winning. One of them's winning tonight. Why don't they be a contributing factor to help that win? Mitch Marner did it in the round robin tourney. Yeah. Let's see what Austin has. Let's see what other guys have.
Do you think Marner's contract has anything to do with the game tonight? In other words, if he plays great, does it help his cause? If he plays poorly, does it hurt his cause? Do you think it has any effect on the way the Leafs are going to handle it?
Absolutely nothing.
You don't think so?
I think it has anything to do with what the Maple Leafs do this playoff run. Because if they fizzle out and he doesn't contribute and he's not noticeable, that's where, who knows? They might have already decided whether Mitch Marner is going to be here long term or whether they really want to go down that road or not. But I would assume that the playoffs...
Well, it should be much more important. If you're the Maple Leafs, clearly.
Of course.
Like, go do what you're going to do for Canada in a one-off, but you got to,
I wouldn't be shocked if they literally, in their minds, as far as assessing their own players, shut this off and said, we're not, this isn't a factor for anything.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a chance a good player might be scratched.
Well, it sounds like Kyle Connor might not play and, like, being scratched. That is a real possibility based on what has been seen at skates. He was a placeholder for Brady Tkachuk yesterday, not a good sign. And today he stayed out late after the skate. It sounds like Kreider's going in and Connor's coming out.
Wow,
like
he's been massive.
He's been phenomenal this year.
Dude, probably top 5 to 7 in Hart Trophy conversation.
Been outstanding for Winnipeg, and that's a huge shot
for Chris Kreider.
That's what it's. Don't hold me to it. Like, this is the speculation because Sullivan did not concede to anything. He didn't. He said you'll find out at game time, but there's a lot of whispers coming out of Boston that Kreider's going in and Connor's coming out. And listen, if you're Kyle Connor, if you're the Jets, there's nothing you can do. But obviously, that's not a good sign. Massive game, and you're the guy they're saying you're coming out. Yeah, like if that happens,
that would be a massive kick in the pills.
Massive.
Massive.
That you're a guy that might win the Rocket. You might score 50. You're a leader for the best team in the league this year.
And you spend your break going there in the last game. They pull the pin.
They pull you out of the game.
Well,
in Boston.
It is. I mean, it says that they want to play a bigger game, right? Like, Connor's not a physical guy. Connor's not a, he's more of a Team Canada guy, a speedster, a skill and shooter and that. And they're going with a guy who can skate 1,000,000 miles an hour in Kreider, but that's a big body. That says to me they want to get to the front of the net and make things tough for the goaltender.
And Jamie, I think it really does. It really does make you realize how McKinnon's a speedster and McDavid's a speedster. It just makes you realize that they are on a completely different level because they're not even being close to being talked about. Like, they always get it done. They always perform.
Yeah.
Like, the heaviness of a game is never in question. Them being noticed is never in question. They're just those guys. Like, it's a different level.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
You're talking about a guy that's going to score 50 goals in Kyle Connor, and there's a level above that, and that's those guys.
Right. And I do wonder if this is saying something about the status of the Tkachuk brothers, too. That if Sullivan may not think they're not 100%, and if they can't bring what they have to bring, someone's got to play like that.
Well, it's going to be fascinating tomorrow when regular season kind of kickstarts. Like, if you're a coach and you're a GM and a guy comes back from the Four Nations and says, I don't know, I'm not feeling that hot, I'd be like, excuse me?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Craig Berube was at skate today, and, the Leafs are skating and there's stuff going on. It's weird that the Leafs are skating. This is how big this tournament has become, that no one is even paying attention to the Leafs. And that's a testament to the tournament. The Leafs are literally skating and playing, and there's guys talking, and no one's paying attention. Nobody cares.
I was sitting with Masters there, and he came back, and I was like, why are you going back? He's like, well, the Leafs are starting up, and Nyes, maybe you got to check in on him. I'm like, really?
Yeah, nobody, like tomorrow, we'll be into that for sure. But the Leafs come back, they play 3 games in 4 nights in 3 different cities. And Berube was asked, is there a chance Marner or Matthews maybe take a night off, get a little bit of a break? Here's how he responded to that.
With Austin and Mitch playing tonight, would you consider at all like giving them a rest for that first game back if they felt they needed it or whatever? Or do you kind of need them to feel the roster?
you got somebody that's going to go in and play. If you
Like
come up,
Lydia.
I know. I'm just, no. As of right now, I mean, they're playing the game, so these are big games.
I love that response. Like, if you want, go play, do your thing.
But by the way, that was a silly question. They're playing.
But you're playing. Yeah, like Austin, don't come back and say something happened there. No, you're playing, man. Like you wanted to be there. You had the right to be there. Be proud of your success. Mitch, the same thing. You're playing because it's go time Saturday night. Like the Leafs they're comfortably in a playoff spot. They're not running away with one, and they got Carolina on Saturday night. Like that's not a free 2 points coming home. Like it's go time, and your two best players or two of your best players. Get over the hangover quickly because you better be ready to play. And
that's the
I got a great
part.
appreciation for that. Like that's Berube they're absolutely playing.
But we talked about it. Like the club team is waiting for you.
Yeah.
Like you got to go back and go down the stretch. Now you can take and draw off of the experience and some of the things that you've learned and enjoyed and maybe through osmosis guys around you rubbing off. But you're taking that back to your club team and make no bones about it. I don't know this. I should know the schedule here the next couple of weeks. But these guys who played together are going to have to battle head to head.
Yeah.
So Marchand's all fuzzy and giving Mitch some love and all that in the dressing room. Marchand will punch him in the back of the head if he has to in a week. If they, I don't know if they play Boston. I'm just paraphrasing.
Well, they do. They play in Boston on Tuesday.
Okay, so there's Marchand's going to punch him in the face if he has to.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday night, like that's the one thing. They're going to be teammates, and they might win and celebrate tonight, but they're going right back at it. And a lot of those guys play for keeps in the regular season too. So
well, Boston's fighting for their lives. You talk about them having to get hit the ground running. That's where the Leafs play Carolina on Saturday at home, at Chicago back to back on Sunday. Then at Boston on Tuesday, then at the Rangers on Friday. So Rangers are desperate. Boston's desperate. Chicago doesn't have anyone in the tournament, so they're waiting. They're ready, and they're going to be at home. It's not going to be an easy start. It's not. And then they head through Vegas, and it's going to get heavy here, man. Like it's going to get heavy for the Leafs. And Marner, he's been healthy all year. He's played great. Matthews has had his injury problems. He's a big guy. He's got to be ready to go, man.
Are you still big on Marchand being a factor tonight in Boston?
I think it sets up to be that way. I'm not going to guarantee it, but I like this. That's his house. The Garden in Boston, that's his house. This crowd has supported him for 15 years. They love him down there. I think he feeds off them being on top of him. And, if you're ever going to supply some sort of spark with something, tonight's the night. Go right at whoever it's got to be. Get in the scrum. Do whatever you got to. Just be Brad Marchand in some way. Because I think if he scores tonight, too, especially if it's a big goal, the reaction from the crowd will be fascinating.
I would just start McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby.
Yeah.
This is what our heater is.
Yeah.
You want to try to run around and bully us out of the rink, go ahead. This is our start.
Let's get playing.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get playing. But, I think Marchand, it's got to factor in. Everyone's got to supply something tonight. Got it.
Yeah.
No, I think,
but it is. I feel like it's going to be an unsuspecting hero tonight. We should, before the end of the show today, pick who we believe is going to score the game-winning goal.
I can already see the presser after the game. That's why we had him on the team.
Yeah.
Some guy that's been a ghost for 3 games is going to score, and someone's going to say, that's why we had him on the team.
Well, listen, it could be Kreider. Right, for the Americans. Seth Jarvis is going in for Konechny tonight. It could be Seth Jarvis.
Tony Cirelli, that's my guy.
He's a winner.
Anthony Cirelli.
He's a winner. He won in junior. He's won in the NHL.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. All right, James Duthie coming up in studio to continue to tee the game up tonight. There's a lot going on also in the sports world we'll touch on throughout the afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Here's James Duthie in studio ahead of the big game tonight. How we feeling, JD?
Feeling good. Feeling strong. I did about 3 other radio hits today, and they all asked me, so what's the atmosphere like in Boston? I guess their producers never asked if I was actually in Boston.
Yeah,
there's that hesitation where you go, Should I not embarrass them and just pretend I'm in Boston?
Have you ever bluffed something where you're like, I'm live from...
I have not done that. There have been some writers who've gotten in trouble in the past where they've written a game story from their basement. And I think Mitch Albom, the great writer, got caught on that once, and a couple of other people have gotten caught on that.
How would they get caught? Because somebody ratted them out and said, hey, bud, you weren't even at the game.
Somebody probably said you weren't in the press box or whatever. So
I know of a scout. I'm not going to say the team, but they would credential him. So what would happen is the team, team secretary or whatever would have to credential scouts on the road, for them to pro scouts. And they got a phone call going, this scout hasn't showed up in a month to get his credential. And the guy had been submitting reports left and right. I'm like, this guy's doing it either from his house or he's watching the game somewhere, but he's not in the building. And you're supposed to be, as a pro scout, in the building, get the atmosphere, maybe talk to people and that. This guy was a fraud, literally a fraud.
You wonder how much that happens now, though, like in this day and age when you can watch any
No, you
game.
can't. I asked the scout working out at the World Juniors, I'm like, why don't you guys just watch? You can see replays and stuff. And I never understood it. Well, it wasn't that long ago, the World Juniors in Ottawa. But being at that game in Montreal, I picked up a lot of things. Guys coming back to the bench, intensity.
That's not the argument. I'm just saying, if you wanted to be a lazy ass, you could get away with watching it on TV and filing your report and not doing your job correctly. But you're right. You obviously see way more at the game. But, snowstorm outside. I don't feel like driving up to Barrie or whatever.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it, too. Like, there's some group think in all of the scouting processes, right? Like, it's mock draft. Well, this guy, everyone believes he's the best. So
what do you mean? You see one tweet, so-and-so looks good tonight.
Yeah.
You jot down, so-and-so looked good tonight.
Right. Well, it's you see the mock draft. Everyone's got the same players. And I'm like, how do you all have the same, 1 through 10? There's no dissension there. No one sees it differently. Right. And that happens with every sport. And it's the same thing, I'm sure, with scouting. Where it's like, the difference easy things to say, he's great.
The difference is that in the lists that aren't public, right? Like every team has a guy, there might be 20 slots different, but they're not publicating their...
No, of course. It's not going to be known
exactly.
publicly. But
like Bob's list, Craig's list, and some other guy at another network might have similar lists.
Yeah.
But each individual team, they're all way different.
Sure. So, JD, in terms of the meaning then, what does this mean tonight? Like if Canada wins, what does it mean?
I think it's more of a symbolic where we are in the world, 51st state BS, that it just means a lot for our Canadian pride, and it's a win at a time where we probably really need a win that way as far as our national collective confidence. I know you guys were talking about it before. I think people have gotten a little overblown. This is not the Olympics. This is not 2010. This is not 1972. I agree that we never had the political backdrop that we have for this in some of those other games. But I'm telling you, a year from now, if Canada and the U.S. are in the Olympic gold medal game again, it's going to feel like this times with several multiples, I believe.
So you don't think any of the players would accept like a win tonight, which means a loss next year? Like, in other words, if that was presented to the Kachuk brothers, you win the Four Nations, but you're not going to win the gold medal next year.
I mean, if you ask them today, a few hours before the game, that might be a tougher thing because they've been waiting for this moment all their lives. We've heard it over and over again. But I think if you remove them, gave them some perspective, everybody would take the gold medal. And that's why, and I agreed with you on SportsCenter the other night, saying all the pressure's on the Americans because, yes, if Canada lose, it will suck for our morale. And there'll be discussions as to whether the Americans have passed us as the preeminent hockey nation. But if Canada comes back and wins the gold medal next year at the Olympics, this will be a sort of an afterthought. Yeah. Because Canada's now won, 3 best on best or 4 best on best out of the last 5 Olympics, and the Americans don't have any. So, I just don't think. I think everybody would take the Olympic gold medal if you asked them, but maybe not 2 hours before this game.
Yeah,
that's hype like this.
There's so much hype, and it's in Boston, and everything that comes with that. But from a Canadian perspective, the idea that Sid is still playing and playing such a prominent role,
he scores a big goal tonight, he'll get MVP of the tournament.
Yeah, he probably will, and he probably deserves it. way he's played.
Yeah.
And
one-off game. The game against the U.S., he didn't do much, and he
Right.
had that bad turnover, but
Right.
nobody on Canada did much.
But the Sweden game, he was the best player. He closes the door on Finland, and then if he has a big one tonight, and you look at his history, I was reminded of the 04 World Cup where Lemieux was in that. That 04 World Cup was weird because it was right before the lockout. It felt a little bit funky. But that's from 87 to 04, Lemieux was there. He was doing it all for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Sid from 2010 to 2025 doing it again, as the man, as the leader, and as a guy who's actually contributing.
I really thought, perhaps naively, that it might just be a symbolic, great leadership from Sid, but that he didn't play a prominent offensive role in this tournament. And that's, I think, been one of the greatest stories of this tournament, is that he's had such a huge role in both of their wins to get here. So if, again, he's already getting statues, multiple statues when he retires. But if he does something tonight, then I don't know how you ever cement him as he's going to be on the $20 bill or something.
Yeah.
I
Right?
agree. JD, how close, outside of whether it's a win tonight or not, how close do you believe the American program is to Canada? Is this the closest it's ever been, in your opinion?
I think it's probably even already.
Yeah.
If they aren't a touch ahead, probably. I mean, this is inevitable. There's an inevitability to this, that it's going to happen, and it's just sheer numbers of population and the volume of people playing hockey.
Right.
And we've seen it coming for the last decade, really, maybe 20 years. And you see it at the World Juniors. I think it's already happened probably at the World Juniors. That doesn't mean Canada's not going to win gold medals. They'll be, these things happen slowly. The States aren't going to suddenly, let's say they beat Canada tonight and they win the gold medals. It's not like Canada's never going to win again, and the Americans are going to be up here and Canada's going to be, the equivalent of Finland or something like that to the Americans. It's going to take, they're going to be even for another 10, 15 years or whatever, and the Americans will just get slightly ahead. But I think if you look at the overall roster, if you look at the programs, if you look at the World Juniors, it's already even, if not the Americans being just a little bit ahead.
Now, the one category where they have never competed, and they still don't, is best player in the world. I don't think they've ever had that. And, when you talk Howe into Orr, into Gretzky, into Lemieux, into Sid, you might argue Ovechkin, but he's Russian, and now it's McDavid. I feel like that will be a bigger shock to Canadians.
Then there will be one. There'll be some phenom out of Texas or something, right? That'll happen over the next
What will be the
decade.
shock? That if there's an
That it's
American
happened.
best player in the world?
Yeah, because we've never, ever had that conversation. We can talk, okay, they won the World Juniors. All right, they won the 96 World Cup. Maybe they're going to win the Four Nations. Maybe
You're not going to have to worry about it for 10 years.
It's never
We've
happened,
basically
and
gone
it's never been close.
smoothly. Gretzky, Mario, Crosby, McDavid.
Yes.
Kind of, right?
Exactly. And everything before was obviously Canadian. So there's never been an American that's even been close. I don't think there's an American that's one of the top 10 players ever. I'm not sure there's one that would be considered top 15 of all time. We'd go down the list.
Brett Hull.
Maybe.
Who was sort of Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
Patty Kane, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
don't think Kane's top 10 or 15.
You're right. No, and I think
that'll be something.
And I still think that's, this is Captain Obvious, but that's, to me, the big advantages Canada has in the game are two. On Saturday night, we've lost McAvoy and we've gained McCarr. And that is
That's a massive.
I think that's a 10% overall team quality flip both ways.
Yes.
Right? So that
So is
Canada,
that 20 total.
so Canada has gained, well done. Canada has gained 20% as far as I'm terrible at doing odds and things. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win. A million things can happen, but that's why I would pick Canada tonight, and I think they should be a slight favorite. And the other reason would be if you pick the best players in the game, you go 1, 2, 3 before you get to an American, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Sid has earned that in this tournament.
I agree. The way he performs on this type of stage. That's the thing about the Americans. You look at, you go down the list, like Matthew Tkachuk has done it, Jack Eichel's done it. But how many guys do you look over there and say, I know what that guy's bringing in the biggest game? Where I know what Sid's bringing. I know what McKinnon's bringing. McCarr's done it. He's won a Conn Smythe.
You might go, so rank the players in the game right now, the best players in tonight's game. Would you go McDavid?
As far as what? Who you feel comfortable is going to lay it on the line and play well?
Okay, we're doing a draft. This is a shinny game, and we are doing a draft
Sticks
of the two
in the
teams.
middle.
Sticks in the middle.
Yeah.
Let's do a draft. You pick first. And we'll go down the line here.
For who I think will have the biggest impact
No,
on the game.
on the impact. You're playing this game to win this tournament tonight. Who do you want first?
McDavid.
Okay, I'll go Makar.
McKinnon.
Noodles?
Hellebuck.
Yeah, I knew
Okay,
I was thinking Hellebuck.
So there you go.
That's
We
where
go
probably
four.
the chain breaks.
Yeah, and maybe Hellebuck.
Trader comment, Noodles.
No, but maybe
you
some
talking
would argue
about?
Hellebuck could be first or second.
I honestly was thinking that because of the nature of the position. You take-
It's just the position, guys.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean,
Right.
they're
No, I
difference
got you.
makers.
Okay, let's take goalies out. If you don't take him,
Okay.
let's take the goalies out, Noodles. Who would you take at
So
four?
what are the picks again?
McDavid,
McKinnon and Makar.
McKinnon, and Makar off the board.
Wow. Give me Crosby.
Okay.
That's
then,
not one American right there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I
Like, no one's taken a Kachuk. No one's taken Jack Eichel yet.
yeah, Zach Werenski's
Maybe
been
we're
great.
talking
Are we
ourselves
biased?
into Canada
We're
having an
biased, though.
advantage.
Are we
We're
biased?
though. We're biased, though.
I don't think there's bias with those players. I mean, you can argue Sid because where he's in his career. For me, the three best players in the game are McDavid, Makar, McKinnon. Like, I believe that.
It's not even in
Like, you could argue, is Draisaitl in that conversation? Matthews, when
Jacob
he's playing
Slavin,
at
you
his
probably
best.
might want to take
Slavin's been great.
the way he's played.
Yeah, but those three, like, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1. Like, first line center, second line center, top dog in defense.
So
You
when
can't
As good
beat
as
that.
those players are, guys, the one of the biggest keys tonight is the Americans are going to try to run them out of the building in the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Like, regardless, they're not going to try to, but they're probably not going to drop their gloves and have a brawl again. But they are going to try to get that crowd on their side and run them out of the building and see if they can get a 2-0 lead and see if they can wrap it up after that. And for the Canadians, they got it. Like you just talked about the players that they're going to be involved in the game. If they get any open ice, they capitalize. So that's where the two sways are going to come.
Are we going to see a, Maple Leafs in another Canadian city at all factor tonight? Like, how many Canadians have bought tickets for this in
I think
advance?
a lot.
I think there's a lot of Canadians down there.
Are we talking what's capacity there? Let's say it's 19,000. Are we seeing like 6,000-7,000
I would think-
Canadians or something like that there? No,
Oh,
not
I
that
think
many.
easily.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could see 5,000 to 7,000.
Yeah.
Really, that you think 5,000 to 7,000 people?
I
have-
talked to a ton of people, and it's not 5,000 to 7,000. That they some package they're going.
It's
they
packages.
left from Montreal. They went right to Boston.
That's what it is. It's packages.
I just think more Canadians would have bought this final game ticket in advance than Americans would have. I think it's
Yes.
gotten really as big as it's gotten here. It's gotten huge in the States over the past few days as well. But that'll be interesting to me when you say, the crowd feeding into it is it going to be? Are we going to be able to notice on television if Canada scores like really loudly, like a Leaf game on the road?
Well, the producer always finds. You know what it's like. The director.
No, but I'm
always
talking like the
finds-
sound.
Yeah.
Just
Like-
that the raw
Oh, yeah.
sound of is it going to be equal
like a
or is it going to be a
Leafs
third?
in Calgary type of thing.
So that'll be fascinating to watch as well.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. How many Americans are scrambling for tickets and if they're available? Because the way this was working was it was packages. You get the 2 games in Montreal, you can buy the 2 games in Boston, and it's a gamble because there's no guarantee your team's going to make it. But I had a buddy that was flying down there with a group of 8 or 10 going to the game tonight. Like, that's anecdotal. It's one group of guys, but they're going to be in the building. Apparently, Seth Jarvis has buddies that drove from Winnipeg to Boston for the game tonight, and he's going in. He's going to play, which is pretty incredible.
He's going in for
Konechny.
Okay.
Yeah, Jarvis. And it sounds like Kreider in for Kyle Connor.
Wow.
That is the rumor down in Boston.
That's
Now-
your rumor.
That's me. I'll take folk. I'm just reading the tea leaves from what I'm seeing.
That's shocking. Like from what we thought going.
If it's
into the tournament.
wrong, then go talk to somebody else.
I think the only thing too we have to factor in is we do not know behind the curtain. Sounds like there's a flu going around. Like if Connor's sick, then I could see it. If it's just hey Kreider for Connor, I mean that's a gut instinct play by management saying.
Yeah, but if he was sick, Jamie, he wouldn't go out there and bag skate this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? If it's just a gut instinct, we need a bigger body to get to the front of the net, and we need middle ice. Then that's what they're doing. They're going Chris Kreider, go stand on the back door, go stand in front of the net, and see if we can get an ugly one on Binnington or a jam away rebound.
Here's another question: if Quinn Hughes had been playing tonight, where would he have gone in our draft?
Great question.
Like, would you have taken him before Makar?
No.
Nope.
Right at
Not
before
for me.
Crosby?
Yeah, he would be in the top 5 for sure.
I wouldn't have. I was the fourth pick. I would have still stuck with Crosby based on one game tonight. What I've seen in this tournament alone, not just his career.
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby for me the other night. Oh, you said it yesterday. That was one of the best empty net goals we've seen in a long time. He was so pissed. He came off the bench and go, "This is enough. At 4-3, this is enough. We're not letting Finland do this. I'm going to knock somebody out at center ice and throw it into the net." And that Granlund felt the wrath of Sid.
Yeah,
to me,
he sure
I was
did.
like, he's my 4.
You guys just mentioned that Quinn Hughes. Just talking to people at the tournament, that guy is getting love. Like his respect in the game where he stands amongst the players. Like he went from really talented young defenseman to Norris winner to people I were talking to. They're like, there's McDavid, there's McKinnon, there's McCarr, and this guy's right there. Like he's up there, man. His skills are not going unnoticed. Like he's one of the best in the game every time he steps on the ice.
Oh, he's something else, man. Like that's a big miss. Like, and obviously he was injured, and that's why he couldn't be there. But that would be a game changer. Like,
I wish he was playing, and I know that the fan in you wants as many Americans injured as possible to give the advantage to Canada. But I think it would be the greatest thing if all the best guys were available to go, and hopefully we'll see that in Italy next year.
That's the plan. All right, JD. Yeah. Well, we'll catch you guys on the panel tonight. It's going to be a fun night.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep. All right, buddy. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
There he is, James Duthie, joining us. We got Pierre LeBrun coming up from Boston. I'm pretty sure. Doogie, make sure you ask him. I think he's down there. Fairly certain he is.
He's definitely there.
Okay, he's there. And Jerome McGinley coming up later in the afternoon as well. We'll catch up with Jerome. That's going to be a blast ahead of the game tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Pierre LeBrun coming up in about 15 minutes. That's some big news in the sports world, man. Like, Wembanyama done for the year. Victor Wembanyama done for the year with blood clots. That's scary, man.
Yeah.
That's scary. Like, blood clots are scary. The way it was described is the Spurs believe it's isolated. They didn't say they know it's isolated. They shut him down for the year. The Spurs likely weren't going to make the playoffs anyway, but they're within striking distance.
Might have cost them the Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, that's it. He was 100% in the running to win that, or at least be in contention for it. And he's the guy. Like, he's the guy everyone wants to see. And now he's shut down for the year, and it's really panic-inducing if you're the NBA because it just keeps, like, pouring on you.
Dude, I just saw a tweet. Luka's out.
Yeah.
Like, Luka's out.
They lost to the Hornets last night, and Luka looked terrible. You know, and
don't the Mavs suck?
Yeah, well, the Mavs are struggling. And now they're talking about Kyrie Irving and how much he's going to make because now he's got them up against it because street clothes is hurt already. It's just crazy. It's just bedlam in the NBA. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's bedlam.
It is. It's a bad, it's a down cycle right now for the NBA. Like, it just, when it rains, it pours, and it didn't help that the NHL got a little bit of bump. And then the NBA players talking about it, too. That's the crazy part.
Yes.
Like, it's been a buzz throughout the league. And the fact that you've got some NBA players going, boy, I really like what's going on over there.
You know when the players are saying the All-Star game weekend's a joke? That's it.
Yeah, that's real trouble. Like, Draymond Green obviously went off on it, and, you know, Kevin Durant's been talking about it. And, when the players are like, this stinks, or this is a real issue.
The scary thing is, I've talked about it for years. They all love being there. They all show up to it.
Well, it's a status marker.
Yeah, it is, but they don't want to play the game with any kind of intensity.
No, and I don't know how you get the cat back in the bag. Like, I don't know how you do it, and I don't think Adam Silver has any clue.
No, he clearly doesn't.
You know, he's trying, and he's doing all these different things, and he's trying tournaments, and it's just not landing.
You just make it a fan expo. You got to, if you want to go there and have social hour with your buddies at night, show up during the day and have meet and greet with the fans. Like, make it an expose. And, like, you don't play, but you're just, hey, if you want to go and enjoy what comes with the NBA weekend, and that's what these guys want.
I know, but Noodles, it's been such a part of the fabric of the fans to go to an All-Star game. Like,
I get it.
It's a massive fan thing, man. Where they're like, I get to see all these guys on the same court.
That's a huge part of it. And the skills competition too. That's like the big, like the dunk contest is one of the coolest, uniquest events, you know, affiliated with any sport.
And that used to have a lot of prestige too.
Amazing.
But now it turned into a circus.
Well, it's Mac McClung the guy's in the G League. They're like no one knows who this guy is, and he's a great dunker. But you're like, you gotta have stars in the league. Like, that was what it was. Jordan did it. Vince did it. You know, the best players. Wilkins did it. They all were in it. And that just doesn't happen anymore. All right, Pierre LeBrun coming up. We've got another Instagram like that has people buzzing in the city. All right, there's another Instagram, and I'm sure you guys know who it's from. If you don't, I'm sure you're not going to be surprised. So someone in the Toronto sports scene who's been in the news a lot this week is liking Instagram posts.
Oh, no.
So we'll tell you about that into the next hour, and we'll continue to tee up the game tonight down in Boston. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.